building the ultimate network, which is essentially relationship marketing, making things happen in your business and in your life by surrounding yourselves with amazing people, your favorite people. The fun question I ask, especially when it's kind of a face-to-face thing, I love to hear the responses. How many ways are there to market your businesses or yourselves? People say hundreds, thousands. The reality is that there are only 4. So I'm going to share these with you if you'd like to write them down. The first way to market your business, and hear me on this, all 4 work and work well. It's about working with specialists. First way to market your business, traditional advertising, TV, radio, billboards, online, all those things that you can put your logo on. That's traditional advertising. You need a budget for it, invest in it, and track the results and keep doing what works best for you. The second way to market your business, public relations, and that's typically for larger companies, corporations, to let the community know how they're giving back to the community that they're doing business in. The third way to market your business, and this is an unfun way for most of us, not all of us, is cold calling. And I mean face-to-face, nose-to-nose, toe-to-toe cold calling, getting thrown out of some of the best buildings that says like no solicitors cold calling. This doesn't typically cost a lot of money. It's usually about knowing your numbers. And what you do need to know about the statistic around cold calling is you get about a 1% return. So there's only one more way to market your business. It's the one that's near and dear to me, the one that I'm here to share with you today, and that's relationship or referral marketing. So here we go. For those of you that like statistics, 78% of business professionals are counting on over 90% of their business or opportunities to come through word of mouth, through the people they know, by relationship, hence relationship marketing. Here's the challenge. So many of us consider ourselves to be natural networkers, and you can be a natural networker, a people person. A lot of us are, but not all of us. A lot of us are. The challenge is that there's actually a science to purposely producing qualified referrals. And so there's a system to it, and I'm here to share part of that with you today. 4 things you need to know to begin to build your own powerful personal network. You've got to build it, educate it, motivate it so that you can activate it. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is building it. And whether you're in front of 1 or 100 people, you're in a position to build your own personal network. First thing to keep in mind when you're building it, you've got to make sure that your behavior supports your intention. We intend to network. However, when we step into these environments, whether it's a boardroom, a conference room, a conference, we net sit, we net talk, we net eat. We walk out of there, we net nothing for our businesses or helping us to work toward our goals. And we tend to think, okay, that didn't work. But it's sometimes you that didn't necessarily work it. So I want to talk a little bit about referable behavior versus unreferable behavior. And so when it comes to behavioral sciences, I'm just going to quickly share 4 of the things we typically see people do when they step into a networking opportunity. One thing we see people do, walk in, head to the food table, get your food, get your coffee, and do what? Wait for people to come to you. How referable is that? The second thing that we tend to see people do is you go in and you kind of hang out with the same 2 or 3 people you already know. How referable is that? Because there are actually some people in the room that don't know anyone and they'd love to know you. The third thing we tend to see people do in these networking environments is you'll stand around the room and line the walls like good little soldiers, as if like you're part of the structural integrity of the room. If you move, the ceiling's coming down. How referable is that? The last thing we see people do, and these are the people persons, running around with your tail feathers on fire, hugging, kissing, slopping sugar. Let me just share with you, the other 3 behavioral styles, not so excited about getting hugged in mid-handshake. So again, how referable is that? And I am always encouraging you to be exactly who you are. just be aware of other people, how they're wired, where their comfort zones are, and maybe just wind it down just a little. So think about how your networking behavior may be impacting your networking outcomes. One last thing I do like to mention around this topic, online behavior. Sometimes we get out of line online, all the emails, all the texts. The biggest thing I can encourage you to do, because this is about building relationships and reaching your goals and building this network with the people that you enjoy surrounding you the most, is if it's more than a bit of information, go old school, pick up the phone and call. Because again, that's one of the best ways for them to hear your tone, your intent, and make a difference in moving forward in those relationships. All right, second thing to consider when you're building your own personal network, it's about qualifying and disqualifying people, believe it or not, when you're walking into these networking opportunities. We tend to kind of look for the important people and might seek those folks out. One of the best examples I can give you is I was delivering a corporate training one time. I have all my favorite customers in one room. I'd been learning about their businesses, learning about people they may want to meet. So I decided to invite a guest. His name's Jeremy. And let me just say, Jeremy, when he stepped into the room, didn't look like everybody else. He had his hair neatly pulled back, but work shirt, work pants, work boots, you know, all cleaned up and nice for the occasion, but that's what he worked in. Guess how many people talked to Jeremy that day? Before we got the training started, I was embarrassed. Almost none. What I can share with you is that Jeremy is still the only certified master Porsche mechanic in all of Southwestern Virginia. I assure you that his clients, his high net worth clients, represented the customers that these people in the room would want to connect with. Mistake. Big, huge. So the best thing I can do to encourage you in these networking environments, look for the person no one's talking to. Go and strike up a conversation, because you might just strike gold. The third thing to take a look at when you're building your own personal network is going with purpose. When you have an ultimate network, a strong network, you are never alone in what you do with regard to building your business or accomplishing your goals. I was very fortunate to learn directly from Jack Canfield. For those of you that aren't familiar with Mr. Canfield, he is the chicken soup for the soul guru. And he said something to me in our time together, and I'm going to share that with you. And this might be something you would want to jot down, because it's not me, it's him. He said, Paula, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend most of your time with. So I really want to take you through a bit of an exercise, if I may. So if you've got pen and paper, here we go. I'm going to ask you to jot down something you're working toward right now, a goal, something that you'd like to accomplish, even if it's further out than next week or next month. So list a goal very quickly. And I'm doing what's hard for me to do, which is not talk while you do this, so you can think. All right, second thing I'm going to ask you to do, number your paper from 1 to 5 under that goal. Now, this is the hard part, because I need you to be super honest with yourselves to really make a difference in what we're doing together today. I'm going to ask you to write down the 5 people, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, whatever you define as golden time, where you're working toward your goals or building your businesses. Who are the 5 people that actually get the most of your time? Kids count, pets count, coworkers count, the people that blow up your phone, whether it's by text or make it ring, they count. All the people count. The 2-leggeds, the 4-leggeds, all the people. Who are the 5 that are actually getting the most of your time? All right, in the spirit of time, and you're welcome to continue this exercise outside of this session, how many introductions, how many supportive actions have those 5 people contributed to help make your dreams come true? Be honest. And here's what I find. Done this over 20 years around the world. The answers are the same. One is you may not have 5 people. We call you cave dwellers. That's another session for another day. The other thing we find is you've got 5 people, and I'm going to say this as kindly as I can. They're not the right 5 people. They're perfectly wonderful people. But again, we're talking about putting together a purposeful plan to do the things you want to do in business and in life. Maybe these people aren't the rightest people for your golden time. This is all I'm encouraging you to consider. What we're trying to do here is build a true dream team for you. And again, there aren't wrong people, but there are some people that are righter than others. So an action item you may consider after the session is to continue this exercise. Who might the right 5 people be? And I assure you, this list is going to be ever evolving. Things are going on in their lives. Things change in what you want to accomplish. But when you begin to surround yourselves purposely with the right 5 people, your own average begins to raise and great things start to happen. All right, second thing we need to do in building your own powerful personal network, it's educate the people in the network. And really, we're talking a bit about target market. And I know that sounds like advertising jargon, but I'll say it this way. Simply, they are the people you were put on this earth to do, or put on this earth to serve through what you do, your products, your services, or the role in what you do. Neil shared, I am a 4th generation entrepreneur. Until I was 26, I was very fortunate to have 5 generations walking the earth. And we didn't just know of each other. We lived and loved very close together. My great-grandfather came out of the Navy and by trade became a master plumber. He and his wife built a business from the ground up around that trade. My grandfather came out of the Army and he jumped in with a company called NCR, National Cash Register. Some of you may be familiar with it. He worked for them for about 20 years. And after that, he decided to start ICR, International Cash Register. Why not, right? And then my father, he is a 2nd generation sign man. And I mean the signs that light up the night skies. Gorgeous, gorgeous work. And we're all in Florida at this time. It's where I'm from. It's where I was raised. And in the late 60s, a mouse came to town. He needed some land. Well, guess what? Somebody told my great granddaddy, I should say, buy land. And he did. And I'll be honest with you, he couldn't afford the good stuff. He literally bought swampland and that mouse bought some of it. Then my great grandfather, it's this networking thing, looked at my granddad and said, I don't know what this mouse is going to do, but I think he's going to need some cash registers to put the money in. And then, of course, my grandfather went to my father and said, hey, not quite sure what's going on, but it's kind of something new and cool. I'm thinking they might need some signage. I will share with you to this day, all of those familial businesses, the land that not just Disney, but SeaWorld and Universal, that's some of that old swampland. Be careful on the rides you jump on in that town. Grandfather, he actually sold his business when he retired to his most tenured employees. They are still selling what are the new fancy point of sale systems to those same parks. And then, of course, my father, he passed about a year ago, but my brother and his name still goes in after hours and puts up those super cool, amazing times. What I'm going to share with you there is they actually accidentally tripped on it. They found their niche, which were these amusement parks. Again, they kind of stumbled on it, but once they got a handle on it, they started making it happen on purpose. The thing about educating your network, people want to work with specialists. And of all the people who do what you do, you need to help them understand why it should be you. Generations before me, husbands and wives building all these different businesses from the ground up. So what would I be most qualified to do? I know I was going to do something, but I didn't know what it was going to be. And what I came to learn that I was qualified to do because I'd experienced it all my life with my great-grandparents, my grandparents, my parents, myself, and even now I'm so excited. My daughter's got a bit of entrepreneurial spirit in her there too. What I'm qualified to do is to help people put a plan together to build a business from the ground up by surrounding themselves with the right people. And when I really hadn't figured that out years ago. And the way that I found it out, I used to tell a story about how I watched all these businesses. Of course, my great-grandfather was in his retirement, but my parents were very much involved in building successful businesses at the time. And I would start telling stories about what birthdays and Christmases looked like. I knew, even though I knew nothing about their businesses as a child, I knew they were having a good year based on birthday presents and Christmas presents. At Christmas, if I got my t-shirts and underwear and socks in the stocking, the good stuff was under the tree and it was a good year. I knew that if I got candies and little things and whatnot in the stockings, the t-shirts, underwear, and socks were wrapped under the tree, not such a good year. And what I saw, especially when we had the liberty of doing in-person conferences, I could watch heads bobbing up and down, and I knew those were my people. So one of the best things you can do is really think about where you've come from, where you're at, where you want to go, and start telling your stories. Wait for the heads to start nodding. Those are your people, the people you're meant to serve through what you do. Make it your life's work, and you'll make a difference for yourselves and the people around you. So we're still talking about educate right now, the second piece of this. You need to equip them with your why. And if you're readers or lifelong learners, you've heard this presented in many ways. So this is nothing new. It's just, I'm going to frame it up to help you in your network building purposes. The secret, people always want to know the secret. The secret's your story. That's really your why. And I know it sounds big, so I'm going to show you why it matters and how you apply it in real life. One of my franchises, Neil shared it in the introduction, is B&I, face-to-face referral groups. So one thing I did way back in the day was every month, outside of their regular meetings, I would host this monthly networking event. And I loved doing it. But the more books and speaking, and I'm on the road, and I didn't know that I can continue to do it. So one of my customers actually came to me and he said, Paula, let me do the hard work. You send out the invitations and, we'll make it happen. I said, glad to do it. So his name's Scott. Scott sets up this first networking event that he was going to help me with at this restaurant we had never been to. So I arrived. He says, let me go introduce you to the manager. Scott walks me over, introduces me to the manager. Paula, this is Cappy. Cappy, this is Paula. And she said, oh, do you work with Scott in insurance? I said, actually, I don't. Scott kind of jumped in and said, well, I know Paula through B&I, through that referral group I've been inviting you to. And she did this. And sometimes people do this when people are in your network or talking about you. She actually rolled her eyes. She went, oh, B&I, that referral thing. Yeah, I'm sure y'all love it. I'm sure it's good for other people. It's just not good for me. And I said, oh, so you've got all the business that you need. Well, no. And she said, it just, I don't know about all of that. I said, listen, all I can tell you is when I moved to Roanoke 25 years ago, I didn't know a soul. I got hired to build a business from the ground up. Again, didn't know a soul. Within about a year, we actually had the most profitable branch going in the company. And she said, well, then you didn't need this whole referral network thing. And I said, well, let me tell you what. At the point that I was doing pretty well, I got invited to one of those referral groups. They gave me roots where I had none. This group of 30 to 40 people started learning more about me, started caring about my success, started walking me past the gatekeepers, straight to the decision makers, lending me their credibility and saying, of all the people that does what Paula does, she's the one that you want to work with. That's the difference. And I said it earlier, when you have a strong personal network and you begin to surround yourselves with people that can make a difference, your dream team, your top 5, you begin educating them. Most importantly, when you share your story with them, because they can tell your story, things start happening. And I said, within 6 months of joining this, I went in this business from 6 figures to 7 figures. So you're right. I was doing okay. Like she said, oh, you didn't need it. You're right. I was doing okay before I plugged into this thing and started building my own personal network. But it changed the way I did business. And that's what my hope is for you today through some of this is to change the way you hit your goals, to change the way you do what you need to do in business. Your story is unique to you. It will separate you from your competition. All right, third component of this, motivate the people in your network. I love to ask this question. I'm so sorry I can't hear your responses. Truth or delusion? People that know you, like you, and trust you will refer you. When I'm in a room, whether it's 500 or 5,000, everybody screams a big old yes. And then my next question is, well, when's the last time your mama passed you a good piece of business? And everybody goes, ugh. So we're talking about motivating these people that you want to make a part of your network. I typically teach about 20 motivational strategies. I'll share a couple of my favorites, but of course there are more. One of my favorites is volunteering to motivate the people. So one of my goals was to become a published author. And the head of my organization, Dr. Ivan Meisner, had published 13, 14 New York Times bestsellers. You know, he knew how to do this thing. Something that his wife did for his business was she headed his children's charitable foundation. And that was so important to him. So I began to volunteer, first of all, because I believed in the Children's Charitable Foundation and what it did to help people. But I began to volunteer. So I sat on the board. I helped review the applications and, you know, to decide where the money would get distributed and all those good things. And when we were at conferences, I would help do fun things to raise funds for the Children's Foundation. Matter of fact, I went as far one time. Somebody said, Ivan, I'll donate $500 right now to the foundation if you go in the pool. And this is a very important person. And people would have paid some money to watch Ivan go in the pool. But of course, he looked across the pool at me. I'm one of his 6 master trainers, so we're very close. And he said, how about Paula goes in the pool? Well, Paula's shoes cost more than anything Paula had on herself that day. But, Beth, his wife, is going, oh, come on. Oh, come on. I said, well, let me think about it. Tell you what, first, I'll go in the pool, but Ivan has to double whatever is raised in the next 30 minutes. We were at a conference. There were a big bunch of people around. And this was after conference hours, but they were all out there, mixing and mingling, networking. Anyway, I said, so you got 30 minutes to go raise all you can in there and then come out here. Ivan has to match it. Then I'll go in the pool. I did go in the pool. We raised $14,000. So volunteering doesn't have to be unfun. I guess that's my first something that I want to share. There can be fun in some of these things that you're doing to do what you want to do. Did I ever do that again? No. I started stealing his speaker's notes and holding them ransom, doing stupid stuff like that. Didn't want to go back in the pool ever again. But again, volunteering is a great motivational strategy for the people that you want to move forward with in those referral relationships. I'm trying to think. Volunteering. Oh, donating. I do get to travel the world and do a lot of speaking. Love it. My mother never thought I'd do anything but get in trouble for running my mouth, but now I get paid to do it in some of my favorite places. What I will share is I had a goal to go to Israel. Sorry. And so I shared with the gentleman, you know what? I'd love, that's one of my goals, to go speak there. They had a big International Networking Week conference coming up, and I thought, yay. He said, Paula, one thing that would be amazing, since you're going to come all this way, if you come all this way, would you do a 2, 3, 4-hour training for my directors, for my team? So I donated my training time and got to spend 9 amazing days in Israel. I've walked the walk that Jesus walked. I put my feet in the River Jordan. I knelt and prayed in the tomb. Maybe that matters to you. Maybe it doesn't, but definitely was on my bucket list. Now it's off of there. There are some dangers in this. So sorry. Not doing many of these keynotes since the crazy hit the world. So I'm challenging my voice. Dangers in this. One time I got asked to volunteer for a pancake day. Fine, easy enough. Kiwanis usually does them in your communities. So I'm there, I'm volunteering. The goal again in motivating is to do these things with your referral partners. He was over like selling funny ties and to raise money that way for the pancake day for the community. He had me sticking my head in a pancake oven. I actually have naturally curly hair. So by the end of the day, not only had I volunteered, not only had I spent the day there, but none of the time with him, my hair was out to here. It was crazy. I love to frame this up by sharing my white wine and chocolate story when it comes to dangers and motivating. For whatever reason, people love and very generously give baskets and gifts when you show up, when you speak and do those things. People would give me white wine and chocolate. My daughter can tell you that I actually believe there should only be red wine, and I don't like chocolate. Don't like to shop either. I'm out of the girls' club, and that's okay with me. And again, did it upset me that I get the white wine and chocolate? No. And while I couldn't share the wine with the kids, I would re-gift it somewhere. My kids got some serious chocolate sometimes when I came back from a trip. So be careful that when you're spending time with these top 5, with your dream team, that not only are you listening, but when you're choosing motivational strategies, they're sincere and it's something that really matters to them. Again, white wine and chocolate didn't upset me, but it didn't get me super excited. I am going to say this. One time I was asked to mentor for a year, which is a big commitment, one of my colleagues. And I said, okay, sure, fine. Because people did that for me. So absolutely, it's something that I should do too. At the end of the year, I was worn out. I was honestly kind of excited about the prospect of somebody else stepping in as the next mentor kind of thing. He had taken the time at the end of that year to call my assistant and said, what does Paula love? And I didn't know he'd done that. All I know is on my doorstep shows up a case of Adelsa wine, my very favorite wine. I actually called him and said, who's your mentor next year? We ran around again. So picking your motivational strategies can make a big difference. The trick is here, not just identifying these people, but spending time with them. You've got 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them proportionately. Really ask questions, really listen so that you can determine what might be their white wine and chocolate, because you definitely want to give them their version of at least my Adelsa wine. The true strength of a network is demonstrated when you do this 4th piece. Activate it. You're going to ask, and you're not always going to get told yes. The key here is reverse engineering. Go back to your top 5. Maybe things are going on. Maybe it's not the best time to keep them in your top 5. So do you have the right top 5? Go to that next component, which is educated. Are you sharing your story? Are you sharing the things that are most unique to you? Do they really understand how to share why it is you do what you do to get someone so excited that they want to meet you? The key here, it's creating reciprocity. Again, it's not about being disingenuous or picking one of these 20 strategies, besides volunteering and donating, whichever strategy you choose. It needs to be different for each and every person on your top 5 list, because they all have different needs. They're all working toward different things. So reverse engineer, and you'll figure out why you may be getting told no when you think you've done the things you need to do to earn the right to ask for help from your dream team. Lessons learned from the generation before me, and it's one of my favorite things to share. Of course, my great-grandparents, they were in their retirement when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school. But I watched my great-granddaddy get up every day, put on his work boots, his coveralls. He taught me that sometimes to do what I want to do, I'm going to have to roll up my sleeves and get my hands dirty. My grandparents, the cash register people, I actually worked for them when I first began college. I mean, if I walked in 15 minutes early, I was still 15 minutes late. From them, I learned I'm going to have to work twice as hard sometimes to earn the respect and do the things that I want to do. and from my parents, especially my father. He taught me the fine art of negotiation. He used to take me to the flea market and teach me how to spend $5 like it was $50. Something I'd love to pass forward from me to you today is that your happiest day is yet to come. You've had many already, and you've got so many more coming your way. My happiest days are when my very grown children come home, especially on the holidays. I'm in the kitchen cooking their favorite things, and in some cases, some of their most unfavorite things. And they're out here and they're having grown-up conversations. I mean, they're like true grown-up people. But one of the things they do too is in fun is they fuss a bit about who's my favorite. And just to keep it interesting, I move it all around. It can go moment to moment, day to day. Who's my favorite? Who's my favorite? You may know today's moderator is Neil Benjamin. She's an academic advisor at University of Kentucky. I know her as Neil Frazier Benjamin, my amazing daughter. And today, Miss Neil, you are my favorite. And this is one of my happiest days. Thank you for having me.